Dodgers Cubs tonight.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. The Cubs, are they still in the playoffs?
Yeah, barely.
Really?
But they've been in, like, I don't know, 3 games longer than the Nationals, if you remember who they are.
I mean, are you telling people you're on assignment? I mean,
yeah.
Really? Who assigned you this? Who? Your brother?
Tony.
Don assigned you this?
I know you're asleep before games start, but you know, there's something called SportsCenter on this network. You ought to try watching it every now and then.
That's a joke. You're not assigned to this. You want to be there. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Bulls fight, Yankees win, and Cubs roll over. But we begin today with a terrible injury to Gordon Hayward last night, just 5 minutes into his career with the Boston Celtics. Hayward dislocated his ankle and broke his leg after landing awkwardly as he went up for an alley-oop over LeBron James. Wilbon, you were there. Did the entire complexion of the NBA season change?
Tony, perhaps. I mean, part of it is we have to see, you know, with Gordon Hayward, what the final sort of determinant is on his lower leg, ankle, and the area around it, fibula, tibia. I mean, you can talk to doctors about all these things. I mean, look, Gordon Hayward is going to be out no matter what for a big chunk, at least, of this season, if not the entire season. Maybe not the entire season. But we also saw, Tony, a couple of young players, Jaylen Brown being chief among them, where you look at him and you go, wow, this kid is pretty good. The kid from Duke, Jason, I'm drawing a blank on his last name. Tatum. Those kids are athletic and they're skilled and they're going to make Boston better in the long run. In the short run, Tony, yes. It's such a downer. The Celtics did everything building it around the acquisition of Gordon Hayward as a free agent. And now you lose him this quickly. But let's not start putting teams bottom feeders above the Boston Celtics yet, because that ain't going to happen. They're still going to be a good team.
Okay, so I was watching the Yankees when this occurred, and I was watching the Yankees come back to win a game that they were hopelessly out of. And I texted you, and I want to explain what you texted me back, because I said, you're not going to believe with the Yankees. And you wrote back, then you don't know what happened to Gordon Hayward. He just did a Joe Theismann.
Yeah.
If you're from Washington, D.C., you know what that means. You mean somebody's bone is sticking through his leg, and he's got to be carted off the field. And so I immediately switched over. I look at this differently than you do. I think it is totally catastrophic for the Celtics. They added 2 All-Stars, Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. Kyrie Irving's production may be marginally better than Isaiah Thomas, but Isaiah Thomas was an All-Star. Gordon Hayward, he was the rocket ship. He was the one that they didn't have before, and now he's out, and I think it'll probably be the whole year. But even if it isn't the whole year, this helps the Cavaliers. This helps the Wizards. Yeah, this really hurts. Here's this guy. He waits 5 years to be reunited with his college coach, Brad Stevens.
5 minutes.
And in 5 minutes, he's out.
Well, Tony, I'm glad, first of all, it wasn't a Theismann situation. And it's still a serious situation. But they were able to lessen the dislocation, whatever that means exactly, on the floor. Medical personnel apparently did an unbelievable job of doing what they could before they even carried him off, rolled him off, as you saw. But again, Tony,
he's not coming back next week, Mike.
I know you're not paying attention to the names Jaylen Brown
I'm paying
and Jason
attention
Tatum.
to that. I'm paying attention to that, but
they
just lost
the
prime free agent they got. They lost the prime free agent that they got.
That's a label.
And they lost him for an extended period of time.
It's going to hurt them.
Yeah,
but that's a label. They got 2 kids, Tony, who are going to hit a wall late in the season. They're not going to be able to do this in the playoffs. But let's just see how they play with the players they've got right now.
Hashtag sad. That's what I'm saying.
The injury obscured everything, Tony, including the storyline of the reaction to Kyrie Irving's return to Cleveland. He was booed when introduced with the Celtics starters, and I'll get back to that later. And despite 10 assists, Irving missed a potential game-tying shot for the C's, but the planned video tribute we were told about never came about. Seems it was pushed to the back burner after several Cavaliers players learned of it and objected. Tony, were the Cavs petty not to show that video?
They were totally petty not to show it, and they were totally correct not to show it. Let's review what happened here. This guy walked away from the team.
He walked.
And he didn't walk away the way Kevin Durant did, basically in silence. Okay, Kevin Durant didn't tell Westbrook, but he basically walked away in silence. This guy said, I'm not playing with LeBron. He went to management. He said, I'm not playing with LeBron. LeBron, who's the most revered guy in the whole state of Ohio at this point. So you're telling me you made a video tribute to this guy and you were going to come on. You think the Cavaliers were petty? Kyrie Irving was petty the way he walked. You cannot disagree with me on this.
Well, you know, they sort of screwed up the intros, Tony, because you would think they would save Kyrie to like last, okay, so you could get ready. But instead, it was like a quick kick or a quick pitch. They introduced him first, and the fans weren't even, they were still trying to put mustard on the hot dogs. They weren't in their seats ready to give the full-throated, you-know-what, the business, as Ben Dreith once said, to Kyrie. But there never should have been a video. It was stupid to have one anyway. This guy forced his way out.
That's right.
He said, I don't want to be with you. And then every chance he's had since being traded, he said, what a bad town Cleveland is.
That's right. He did all that.
What?
Look.
I thought the fans, and LeBron said this later, LeBron thought they were too kind, and LeBron was right. They should have gone after him much more vocally now. I don't believe in throwing things. I don't believe in any of that. But they should have gone after him. They didn't really.
Kyrie Irving is a great player. He helped them win a championship. He helped them get to the finals in 3 different years. He can walk if he wants to. But you don't make a video for him.
No,
I'm
no
sorry.
chance.
You don't do that. Unbelievable story out of your Bulls, Wilbon. Nikola Mirotic, is that how it's pronounced?
Mirotic, that's
Mirotic.
right.
And Bobby Portis got into it at practice. Reportedly, Mirotic charged Portis twice. And then Portis threw a punch connecting with Mirotic's face, fracturing his jaw and leaving him concussed. 1 punch. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. Portis is out 8 games suspended by the Bulls. Wilbon, this is your account. Is this the appropriate adjudication?
No. No. So if the reports are true, and I've heard the same thing you did, Tony, you can charge a guy, but he's not supposed to swing? I'm sorry. So what? Bobby Portis is just supposed to let another 6'11" guy just run him over and start swinging? No, you don't owe him that. But this all fits neatly into the Bulls' narrative of stinking. They need to tank. They want the first pick. I know it may be harder to get it, but they're going through a 3 or 4 year rebuild where they want lottery pick as high as they can get it to try and be a Derrick Rose situation, maybe where it bounces them back. But, Tony, you don't suspend a guy for that long if the reports are accurate that another guy charged him.
I remember Mirotic when he got into the league, and you loved him. You thought he was a great player.
And he stunk since.
Okay. Now,
he's been nothing
He's supposed to be a starter for this team.
Yeah.
He gets in a fight, as you say, reportedly charges a guy twice. The guy punches him at that point. You can't suspend Portis at all. You can't. You make him the starter right now. When Mirotic comes back, then you say, now we're going to suspend you. You don't deliberately hurt your team by reacting this way.
No. You do, because you don't want him to win. You want to lose games. You want to tank.
So if you're tanking, if you're like the 76ers, then charge people half the money that you would normally charge them. But don't do this. I don't think this makes any sense at all. And, you know, fights happen all the time. Don't Steve Kerr and Michael Jordan talk about fighting each other all the time?
Well, but you didn't break anybody's face. I mean, Tony, and what I heard also was that, you know, this wasn't a situation like where these guys were trying to body slam each other. They got into it in practice. Like you just said, how many times and close friends have we seen get into it in practice?
Where are the assistants? There are 5 or 6 assistants on every team. How can they not get – if they charge them twice, you get involved. The assistants push them away.
Yes.
That's stupid.
They want it – Tony, this is perfect for them now. Lose, lose, lose. You're losing your 2 guys that play one position. Come on. Tony, you've waited very patiently for us to get to baseball. So here we go.
I have.
The Yankees, who you said had no chance when the Astros won the first 2 games of the series,
I did.
are now tied at 2 after a thriller of a comeback last night in the Bronx. Tony, you never saw that 4-run 8th coming based on the text you sent me when you thought the Stros were about to take command of the series.
No, I sent you a text that nobody can get anybody out. They were down 4-2. I said they're going to win the game.
Yeah, that one came later, I think. So now it's 2-2, Tony, with Game 5 in the Bronx. I'm going to ask you one more time, Mr. New York, who you got?
Yeah, this was an unbelievable game to watch. I'm sitting alone in my house watching, and I swear I could feel the momentum change. I honestly don't think that the manager of Houston should have taken the starter out after the Judge home run. There's a second
But hasn't that been part of the story of the postseason for all these teams? Managers going to the pen too early?
That's the second hit he allowed. He's into the 7th inning. So Hinch comes out and he brings in a reliever. He brings in 3 different relievers who are not effective at all, including the closer. And they appear, Mike, scared by the moment and scared by the atmosphere out there. And that game was lost in a stunning way. And you're asking me, who do I think is going to win now? They still have Keuchel and Verlander.
Keuchel and Verlander, they can't beat one of them?
Who was so good, but last night I thought, wow, the Yankees have it. I thought that.
You know, Tony, this becomes one of those things where, you know, over history, you know, and I hate analytics for the most part, but you don't need advanced analytics to know that the winner of Game 5 often takes these things. Although in the 2-3-2 format, you know, you're up 3-2 if you're the Yankees, but you go on the road. You still got to win a game in Houston, and you got to beat a pretty good starting pitcher.
You're 1-4 on the road in the playoffs, so you have to do that.
That's right.
Look, I had Richard Justice on my podcast today, and Richie was at the game, and he said for the first time since the new Yankee Stadium was built, he felt the old Yankee crowd that was edgy and contemptuous and all of that. Your agent, Jeff Jacobs, is here. He's sitting here watching the show. He was at the game, too. He felt the exact same thing, that the crowd moved the needle on that game. Now, they can't do that in Houston.
Are the Yankees going to win this series now or what? Come on.
Again, I like Verlander, but maybe he can only win one, right? Maybe Keuchel loses.
Last I checked, one.
We've saved the best for last. Your Cubs are down 0-3.
Yeah.
You, Darvish, played with them last night. I believe your exact words from yesterday's show were, and I'm quoting, "I'm not afraid of you, Darvish. I'm not quaking in my boots." Unquote.
Well, I'm not, but they were.
Wilbon, do you come here to praise the Dodgers or bury your Cubs?
Oh, both. There's plenty of room for both. I'm going to, you know, game 4 tonight, and I have no expectations of the Cubs winning even a game, Tony.
There's a sweep game, they call it.
When you can't score more than 2 runs, and for the last couple of games more than 1 run, and you have a relief pitcher who you think is turned around from a great performance in a previous game, and he walks on 4 pitches, the pitcher.
Oh, that was something.
With the bases loaded.
Nice
Carl
bullpen.
Edwards Jr. Way to go.
Bullpen.
So you want to tell me about the Nats bullpen, please? You look bad in your analysis over everything in the National League the last 2 weeks.
Really?
This bullpen, I told you, stunk. I told you it was the worst. The ERA has been up around 7. They can't even keep the team in the games. So why would I think they're going to reverse it? The Cubs need spring training. They need 48 hours of spring training, Tone, and they can't get it. They can't go to Scottsdale and come back before the game tonight, first pitch. So they're probably going out.
So here's what I think. I remember saying this, that I thought, and you agreed with me, that the winner of the Nats and Cubs would go on to beat the Dodgers.
After 4 games. After 4 games, we thought that. Game 5 took too much out of both of them.
And obviously what happened was that series was so tense, so taut, it took too much out of the Cubs, and it would have taken too much out of the Nats. But I think we misplaced one thing here.
What?
The Dodgers, for 100 to 110 games, were a record-setting team, and they had that terrible, terrible slump. They may not have a 340 hitter, but they got everybody hitting 280, and they've got a great bench, and they've got great relievers.
The best bullpen.
And you know what? They are better than both the Cubs and the Nats. They're better. They're the best team in baseball.
They're better.
They are.
And they regained their form against Arizona. And those games, which were mostly lopsided, that got them back. And then they got some rest.
They would win easily.
And they watched the Nationals and the Cubs bludgeon each other.
Yes.
And those teams weren't as good anyway. But that Game 5 killed both of them in terms of their chances, any chance of being close to the Dodgers.
Let's take a break. Coming up, how big a deal should we make about the Rockets' win over the Warriors?
And what does it say about the NFL that players think 40-year-old Tom Brady, the golden boy, is a quarterback who will win the most Super Bowls over the next 10 years?
10 years, making him 50. Time to fill in some blanks in What's the Word. Let's get the first one from the producer over the loudspeaker.
The Rockets' win over the Warriors was blank.
It was nice. I'm not going to get carried away here. I said yesterday I thought it meant more to Houston to win this game than Golden State. Golden State knows what team it's got. It's a championship team. Houston is experimenting with Chris Paul and James Harden on the court. When they were on the court together, Houston was minus 13. When Harden was on the floor and Paul was on the bench, the Rockets were plus 14. And with Chris Paul as a primary defender, Golden State was 10 of 15 from the field, Mike. So let's not get carried away about how well this is working.
Tony, it didn't work at all last night. Not that part of it. But look, the game was a thriller. It wasn't important at all. But the game was well played. It was intriguing. That's my word. First of all, Chris Paul was, twisted an ankle, I think, and wasn't even on the floor late in the game, and he and Harden were not great together.
Right.
It was interesting because Shaq, Kenny, and Charles immediately after the game, all three just said, we don't know if this can work at all. And then Draymond Green sprained a knee. We don't know his status just yet in terms of, what's going to happen over the next few days. But he wasn't on the floor for the last quarter, but intriguing.
Next.
It's blank that NFL players think Tom Brady will win more Super Bowls than any other quarterback over the next 10 years.
It's self-hypnosis. They apparently answered an ESPN survey, and they said that Tom Brady would win these Super Bowls between the ages of 40 and 50. Let me stress, and 50. That's insane to think that. That means he'll win more than Cam Newton. He'll win more than Andrew Luck. He'll win more than Marcus Mariota, more than Jameis Winston, 4 good young quarterbacks. I'm not even mentioning Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford. I mean, you can't. It's insane. It's insane.
How many Super Bowls has Aaron Rodgers won? Tell me that.
1 at the moment.
Thank you. How many has Cam Newton won?
None at the moment.
Okay, so it's sycophantic is what it is. This is the reverence that the Golden Boy is held among his peers, his frat brothers. And so it doesn't mean anything about playing till 50. He could win at 40 and 41 and be done. 2 could win him the decade. So what are you talking about? It's sycophantic. Everybody, including you, is a sycophant over Tom Brady.
Most decades, you get 2. A lot of guys get 2. Next.
Luke Shen and Antoine Roussel engaged in
them to be banished for years. But I'm going to say it looked like a mechanical bull situation.
Okay.
Where guys are just going up and down because they're trying to snatch each other's shirt down. I don't understand the technique involved, but there were some punches thrown, Tony. I don't think you want to say it was staged. Some punches were thrown and landed. I don't think you want to be on the wrong end of any of those.
Do you remember the mechanical bull rides at that bar called Gillies in Texas? I think it was called Gillies.
Did you ever go in there?
No. Next.
Last one. The Klay Thompson lookalike was blank.
It was freakish. I mean, you got to look at this. The guy actually looks like Klay Thompson.
He does,
and he's wearing
man.
a Klay Thompson jersey, and he stands behind the Warriors huddle. And you just say to yourself, did he have plastic surgery to do this? Is Klay Thompson the next Elvis Presley? Is everybody going to do this? I mean, honestly, this is very freakish. It's
Tony,
unnerving.
You know what? I'm going to go a little bit more precise than that. It was twinly. I mean, he looks like a Klay Thompson clone at that point. And Klay has a brother who's fairly close in age, Trace, the professional baseball player. And he and Trace, they look like brothers, both sons of course, Michael Thompson. But this guy looks more like Klay than Trace, his real brother, looks like Klay, and that's why I'm going with twinly.
I didn't like it. I mean, I understand that people, they look at large, skinny, bald guys and they say it's Scott Van Pelt, but he stood behind that was awful. That's it. The blank is over. Let's take one last break. Still to come, what does it say about Markelle Fultz? #1 overall, right? He won't even be starting for the Sixers tonight.
He's redshirt, right? Redshirt for 2 years.
That's
isn't
what
that
we
their deal?
think. That's what we think.
Could Landon Donovan save U.S. soccer, Tony?
He's been on the show. He's a good guest. Am I wrong on that, Mike? Wasn't he a good guest? Landon involved in the greatest fight I ever saw. 8 minutes of sheer fury in 1985 with marvelous Marvin Hagler. Hearns came in like a freight train, and he went out in the referee's arms in the third. Wilbon, you ever seen a better fight than that in person?
Tony, maybe Holyfield-Bowe. One of those 2 fights, both fights were good. I think the first fight was just great. Wait a minute, didn't you see Leonard and Duran?
The fight that I remember most was Ali and Shavers. I love that. A not-so-happy anniversary to the Indianapolis Colts. On this day 2 years ago, Indy attempted what could be the worst trick play in the history of the NFL. You're watching it. It's unbelievably stupid, and yet the head coach still has his job.
That is just a crazy place, and we're going to get back to them, aren't we? The whole situation with the Colts is just wow.
Stay tuned, kids. That's foreshadowing. Happy trails to Ezekiel Elliott's suspension again. A federal judge in New York has issued a temporary restraining order overriding Elliott's 6-game suspension. So Elliott will be eligible to play until a higher court overrides this ruling. But we believe that Elliott will sit for 6 games eventually.
Eventually, what, in 4 years? He could be ready to retire by then. What are we talking about?
No errors today, 1 omission. Andrew Luck had a cortisone shot today and has discontinued throwing. There's no timetable for return. Mike, when are we going to see Andrew Luck?
What did I just say?
What is this?
Maybe not this season, Tony. I mean, it's time to really worry about his future.
Okay, so is he Tiger Woods? Is he physically
he's so much younger,
damaged?
Tony.
But
I mean, he's 15. He's more than 15 years younger than Tiger Woods. Let's not go there yet.
Yeah, but he takes hits. Tiger just goes out there with a driver.
Yeah, Tiger doesn't
do anything. All right, big finish. Here we go.
Let's
DeShone Kizer took the Browns' starting quarterback job back from Kevin Hogan. Is this cause for optimism?
You know, I was just in Cleveland yesterday, Tony. I'd like to find some reason for some optimism regarding the Brownies, but man, it's a stretch. The 2018 NFL Draft is going to be held at Jerry World in Dallas. Is that a good choice?
No, it's a great choice. That is a made-up event that needs a carnival barker. Jerry Jones is the greatest carnival barker in pro sports in America. NFL ratings are down 7.5% this season. You're not surprised, are you?
I know, Tony, but the ratings don't measure. What do they measure? Who's watching on handhelds? They don't even measure that. We don't know what the ratings are anymore, to be honest. Landon Donovan is reportedly considering a run for the presidency of U.S. Soccer. Is that a good fit?
Yes, it is. Who will run as vice president? Alexi Lawless? Do you run as a ticket? Do you have like the Electoral College? How does it work? Last one, your boy Markelle Fultz won't start against the Wizards tonight. Is that a bad sign?
Tony, he doesn't need to start. He needs to be in the game. We know Philadelphia, they redshirted for 2 or 3 years. If Fultz is out there playing, that's a good sign.
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the app or Apple Podcasts.
Ghost Horse. Send us a bunch of that. Good wine.